Hey everybody, welcome to the very first episode of the Tinfoil Hat Society with Venus. Venus is with me. How are you doing tonight?
Oh, great. I'm so excited to actually start this.
We've been talking about this show for a long time,
Yeah,
and we're finally
sure have.
here. Yeah, we finally made it happen. So, uh, for those of you that don't know, for anybody who hasn't been watching or hasn't been keeping up with the notifications we've been putting out about this show, for the last, what would you say, Venus, 3 or 4 weeks we've been talking about doing this? Uh,
Oh my God, at least that, yeah.
Yeah, no. This first episode is essentially we're titling it "Are We Alone?" But it's essentially what it's going to be is just us kind of sitting around and uh, letting the conversation kind of go naturally and just talk about all these different conspiracy theories that are out there and whatnot. But Venus has a very special guest for this first episode. So Venus, who do we have with us?
We have tonight Mr. Doug Ryan, a good buddy of mine that totally deserves to be on the show, especially for our first episode.
Okay,
Um, how you doing?
I'm okay. Just kind of lost in some quiet YouTube playing in the background, just UFOs and whatnot, recent sightings, and yeah, just waiting to talk about fun stuff.
That's the life. That sounds like my house every night. Every night when me and Kirsty go to bed, we always have some kind of documentary on, and it's always some sci-fi stuff, or like alien sightings, or black holes, or just anything that's out in the universe, whatnot. And it's usually really soothing to just kind of fall asleep to. So,
Yeah,
To fall asleep to alien abductions.
you know what? It has
Venus is
affected
giving
dreams
up
from time to
medicine.
time. But
You know what? It has. It's like binaural beats. You listen to that stuff and
yeah,
you're like, wow, in a whole different world.
yeah,
You gotta watch those though. Like some of them are pretty. Like they say that some are very sinister. And
yeah.
I've seen it. There's a couple. I'm like, there's one of the some institute of yada yada or whatever. I could find it in a moment. And they talk like you can tell they're evil, eh? And there's if you listen to it not trying to sleep, every like minute and a bit, a demon's voice will be like in the background.
Mm-hmm.
I don't.
Oh
I have
yeah.
a lot of time to play around, and I've noticed that though. And I'm like, whoa, that's maybe why I've been acting weird the last 3 days. Like they're programming me when you finally catch it. And I gotta eliminate that channel
Yeah.
because there's very good ones out there still too.
Oh,
Like
absolutely.
for it run on this delta. Was it the delta and the alpha waves of your brain?
I thought it
And
was the beta waves.
oh, okay. Well,
Well, is it? I don't know. I'd have to look it up. I used to be a big into binaural beats. I
did you
used to be
guys hear that?
so
I'm
big
sorry.
into them. There was one I remember that was like the Gates of Hades or something like that. And like the first 20 minutes of it, you just lay there and you can slowly kind of feel yourself drifting off. And when it ramps up, it's like this staticky kind of buzz in your ear that just gets louder and louder. And you actually feel like you're falling and getting hot and whatnot. And you start hearing like ancient Sumerian speak and stuff like that. And it's like, oh
Oh,
shit,
crazy!
like what the Yeah, no, it's weird. So,
Yeah,
Right
but
you
on.
end up on a whole other level. Like if it be good or if it be bad, like those things work.
they do. And
Like
it's
going to
insane.
Vegas drunk, eh? You just
Yeah. I
Yes,
remember listening
sir.
to some like you're like, okay, yeah, it's like good for sleep and I'm about to fall asleep. And it's like, well, now I think I'm surrounded by hell like right now.
Yeah.
Oh, Doug, just an FYI, I just shared this live podcast now. It's on our Strange Clouds group, and it's also on my Facebook page.
nice.
So I tagged you in it. I could probably share it to
Okay.
your page too.
Well,
Well,
while
this will
she's
still
doing,
run if I leave off this. Eh? I'm on my iPhone, so I should just be able to.
oh yeah,
Sorry about that, Rooster. Did you hear that?
no,
You have
Okay,
a
good. No, I
rooster?
got it's a notification, and I thought like,
it's them binaural
anyway,
beats
I'm a
again.
dick, right? So I remind myself, like, fuck you.
Well,
But
while she's sharing that out, Doug, why don't you tell us a little bit about your history and we were talking a little bit before we went live about some of the experiences that you've had. Why don't we talk about that for a minute? Um, what are
okay,
what are some of the things that have happened to you, bro?
okay. Well, it started. I was about 8 years old, 8 or 9, way back, like in the '80s, because I'm 42 almost now. So it was quite a while back, and my grandparents came home and whatnot and woke me up to get out of bed. They like I was in a sound sleep just to see this UFO, and it was huge, like the size of 4 high schools. like big, big. That's how like my grandfather described it the next day. And I seen it. It was just crazy. And the news the next day was saying that it was a crashed weather balloon, blah, 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 blah. And then nothing ever more was said of it. And there's no way that was a weather balloon what I witnessed.
Mm-hmm.
And I know I'm young, and you bring a kid fishing and they think, okay, I caught a fish, yeah, big, it could be like it starts off at a foot and ends up at 3. No, it's not one of those scenarios. Like, this was massive, this craft. No sounds, blinking lights. And it was very odd, like, and I was young, so it was hard to understand what I was, like, really seeing, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I was accepting of it, so it was pretty neat. Like, I didn't try and hide what I saw. Like, I always spoke of it. But I noticed how the government and everything just sloughed it off as it was nothing and move on. And, you hear like a 2-second thing and that's it. And it's worth, the whole world should have known. Like, when I was that age, that's what I thought. Like, everyone should know this.
Mm-hmm.
But nothing more. And then I just, like, ended up catching a lot of weird things with my eye at night. I look at the sky all the time. I love looking at the sky, and I've just been fortunate enough to see things a lot, or they're trying to get a hold of me. That's another plausible, I don't want to go off, but.
Right.
That's actually, yeah, I agree. That is pretty plausible. Like, look at, oh my God, where was this one? In Iceland or something, this guy had one of those alien therapy regression sessions, and he was just crying his eyes out. And if I could find that video, I'll post a link for that too. And it was just extreme. It's like, once you see a UFO or something, like, you're bound to see more. And like, being abducted and stuff, you're like super high risk of seeing that. Like, if you went to see an alien transgression or whatever therapist, like, I'm sure they could give you like a lot more stuff, like through hypnosis or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, see, and I figured we would play both sides of the coin here, because I'm sure
there's skeptics.
Yeah, I'm sure there's
absolutely.
skeptics that have called you names, Doug, and whatnot over the years, and said you were lying, making it all up. We're not going to do that, obviously, but I know that there have been people that have been there along the way that have done that, and kind of been a part of that group. But there are things that happen in this world that have no explanation whatsoever. There are, cattle mutilations and I mean,
yeah.
And we live in a time now, obviously, where anybody with a cell phone can make any video, right? Anybody can fake anything. So it's hard to kind of differentiate what's real and what's not nowadays. And some stuff you can look at and go, well, that's obviously fake. But some of it you look at and you're like, that's really hard to fake. You know what I mean? So there are weird things that happen. I mean, how can so many people claim to see ghosts? How many people have claimed to seen aliens?
Hey, ghosts have been proven.
Yeah, and exactly.
So I already know they exist, so I don't have to defend that issue. But I mean,
see, I've had more experience with kind of that side of things that have happened, and not so much the aliens, which is why I told you when we first got onto the Skype call together that I was so jealous of you because, I mean, Kirsty and I have seen some weird things in the sky before. The one that kind of sticks out the most in my mind, like Venus had told you before we went online, I'm former military, I'm former Army. There was one night in particular, I was in Iraq, and we were on BFT guard. Was that BFT? I think it was BFT. BFT guard, where we just sit and watch this little computer monitor in our Humvees all night. And I remember I was on break. I was sitting on top of the vehicle, and I had my night vision goggles on, and I was looking up at the sky because, I mean, with these things, you could see everything, things you can't see with the naked eye, right? And
I bet you freaky shit, man. Because I look through them at night and I see stupid Star Wars shit up there. And I don't know.
Well, see, that's kind of what I saw too, because I saw this giant. It looked like, I mean, it's the most cliche explanation or description of anything you'd see in the sky, but it was a cigar-shaped, long, cylindrical thing just moving through the sky, and I know it was solid because it was blocking out stars as it went through them, but it was so high up, it was so small, and I'm like, I mean, granted, it was over a military base and a combat zone. You've got to look at all these other variables also, but at the same time, you look at it and you're like, there's no wings on that. There's no, it doesn't look like there's any propulsion system on it. You know what I mean? So that's the closest I think I've ever really come to seeing anything like that. But I'm not discrediting you.
Well,
I do believe that there are things out there. I mean, we live in an entire universe that we can't even see the entire universe. We live in a universe we can't even see the whole thing. And
well,
there
if theory
are,
proves itself right, you won't be able to because
yeah,
it's never ending, and we can only see at the speed of light.
right. We
And
can only see, what is it, 13.8 billion years back or something like that. Because we start getting that background radiation light.
well, yeah, but you get different numbers, man. I've noticed like that I'm getting I'm not saying I'm old, but I'm a little bit older, and I've been aware since I've been young, and that's been really difficult. But I paid attention to all things like that, and I don't know, man. I'm sorry, I'm gapping out, but
When I was like a child, like I remember like in my like at nighttime in my bedroom, like my bed was like right under my window when I was like 5 or 6 years old. And I used to like sleep right up against my wall, right under the window. And I had there was this, yeah, there was this street light like right outside in my front yard, which was fine because I could see things that were outside and whatnot. And I could look down at the street and see if anyone was walking by or if anyone was driving by or anything like that. And I used to sleep right up against the wall because I was scared of the bright light shining in through my window as a child. And it wasn't that street light either, because that was like, it was always there. But I was scared of this big light, and that's all I remember was being scared of the big light in the sky.
Mm-hmm.
well, it could be from a past life experience. You never know. That's possible, right? If you're into that kind of thinking, but
Oh,
I
Tinfoil Hat
I don't
Society,
deny anything.
we're going to be in this.
I know. I
Yeah.
think that was sarcasm more than anything.
No, I can't deny anything. Like I've like seen a lot. Like I've seen people's stories. Like, and when these people talk to you, and no matter how much you want to be like, yeah, okay, there, buddy. Like when you see them like sitting there and they're like the fear in their eyes and like them crying and like the way that they act and stuff, you're like, you're not fucking lying. Like you're not making this shit up as you're saying it.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had a lot of people tell me crazy stories that most people would be like, dude, you're fucked. And I'm just like, wow, no. Yeah, like
Well,
you're like probably the 35th person who's told me like a similar story. So that I can't even deny it now. And you don't even know these other 34 people.
I've seen a lot of them through my life, and it like that one story that I told you there was not like I was 8 years old. I've
Mm-hmm.
seen a lot of weird things because, like I say, I look up. I'm a daydreamer, I guess you could say, and I'm always like looking in the stars and looking. I don't know why, but it's been a fascination of mine.
It appeals
And
to you.
yeah, it's almost like it comes second nature.
Yeah.
Like it was my job maybe before or something like that. You never know, right? Like
Well,
I say, past lives. I'm starting to believe in souls and
Mm-hmm.
a lot of that stuff. Like, because Linda Moulton Howe, I don't know if you watch her videos.
I've heard the name.
Okay, well, she's a very, very thorough investigator,
Mm-hmm.
and I really recommend everybody watch her. She holds a doctorate, but not in like anything to do with this, like with like UFOs or whatnot. But she started with studying cattle mutilations, what you were speaking of earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Chupacabras.
Oh, her
I just throw that in there.
That's a fun name, eh? The Chupacabra.
Yeah, it is.
Fun to say
People are
anyway.
probably like, what's the chupacabra? Well, it's kind of like, how do you describe that? Like, kind of like a werewolf or a skinwalker or something, right?
Yeah, those are pretty creepy, eh?
What
I
happened?
know, but like,
Speaking of
It's so-
skinwalkers, though, hey, look, I know a lot of people just try to discredit a lot of this stuff, but even out in the Southwest, I was stationed in El Paso when I was in the military. There are newspaper articles you can go back and look at, and the headlines mention skinwalkers. The people in the Southwest fully believe in these things.
Oh, the natives totally
Yeah.
believe in them.
They swear by 'em.
skinwalkers. Well, their bodies, they'll climb into your body, right? They take over your body, like.
Skinwalkers?
That's
I thought skinwalkers were
Oh, they-
shapeshifters.
Well, they're that too.
Oh,
like,
okay.
It's very, very, very altered. Like they're not aliens, but they're interdimensional beings,
Mm-hmm.
and that's where I think a lot of this is getting confused because everyone's thinking UFOs, and since the government started pushing, like it seems YouTube and the government's more like allowing the UFO talk and this and that. What's it to divert us from? Because, okay, is it interdimensional beings? Like, is it the DMT midget elves? You know,
Well,
I don't know if you've heard of the elves. But
Just mention midget and we're done.
well, when you
Like,
talk
it's-
about the government and them allowing people to talk about stuff like this, and it's all, you know, there's different
Well, nobody
aspects of
bothers.
everything that goes on that, you know, yeah, everybody's allowed to talk about things, but there's a certain sect of it that the government keeps quiet. That,
of course,
that,
but I mean-
that the public is not allowed to know. But I feel like that they kind of maybe leak some of this stuff too to kind of encourage people to talk about it so that they do look crazy, hiding in
Oh, of
plain
course.
sight. You know what I mean? So
They got to take care of it somehow, right?
Right.
And then
You
they do
can't
a little
muffle
bit,
everybody.
The public will take care of the rest. They'll discriminate and ostracize the person.
right.
And the government doesn't have to even enforce their rules because the society will do it for them because they taught them to through the school system.
And even if somebody comes forward and says, I used to work for this company, I know this, I've seen this, they can just be like, oh, they're just crazy. We gave them LSD back in the 70s. You know, don't listen to them. They don't know what they're talking about. You know, and
Oh, wow. You don't even want to know my stories on that stuff because I live in
man.
Sudbury. And it gets down with CIA's MK Ultra experiments within Montreal with when they were, I don't know if you heard about any of that. The CIA was doing all these mind reading programs and programming their brains and making, you know, like sleeper cells or yada yada, sex fucking slaves
right.
for a multi-billionaire. You know, his secret little toy there. He calls her up, says a word, she does whatever, and then, you know what I mean, send her back to her cave. Like,
Oh my God. The most terrifying video, I've shared this to Strange Clouds, I've shared this a few times. I always, I did not believe in aliens, okay? But this video I found on YouTube that actually just got leaked 2-3 years ago. You guys have to search this up and rewatch this. The look on this thing's face is terrifying. It's 1992. I think it was in Quebec. Quebec, 1992 alien sighting. And
oh, I did. That
fucking Lord.
That was a video, a homemade video?
Yeah, and they did an autopsy on it and everything, and you can find the autopsy videos now. And holy motherfucker, when I saw this thing, I dropped my tablet to the ground, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm getting shivers and everything. I'm like, oh my God, okay. There's no doubt in my mind now, that thing is creepy as fuck. That is not a human. That is not a hybrid. That's a genetic experiment that, they're like, no, you're the, retarded, stepchild, and, slashed this thing from existence pretty much and left it here. Oh my God.
Wow.
Okay, wait. I'm looking this video up right now because I'm curious.
Oh
you
my
said
God.
it's in 1992.
1992 Quebec alien footage.
Okay. Don't
Yeah,
judge me.
it looks kind of fake too, though. I don't know.
Don't-
It does, but oh my God, it just gave me such chills. The feeling of it when I looked at it gave me chills.
Okay, don't judge me. But I'm not from Canada, so how do you spell Quebec?
Q. Let her say it. It'll sound better.
Quebec.
That's what I
Actually, I'll
thought.
find it here.
That's what I thought. Oh wait, yeah, I think I found it. I'm American. I'm sorry.
Quebec alien.
So, but no, I mean, and it's not just aliens we're gonna end up talking about on this show either. You know, it's conspiracy theories in general, and Mandela effect, and
Well, it all crosses into each other.
Oh, it all has to
down
do with
quantum
each other. Yeah.
mechanics. Everything is everything. Everything's so connected like a web.
Right.
And then they make it that it's not. There's two different physics. The ones they teach people in university, and then there's the ones that teach the one that involve limitless energy, frequencies, vibrations. Because Hutchinson, I don't know if you ever heard of his work, out of Vancouver. Okay, I believe his technology was used for 9/11. But I don't want to get too
we'll
deep
get into
that.
9/11 in another episode too. Yeah.
But his work is very interesting. He was melting metal and bending it and levitating it, or something was happening to a product. Let's say he had an item here that he was doing something with, right next to him, but it was altering something 4 blocks away. Earthquakes and this and that, and it was based on Tesla's work, right?
Right.
Well, I'm sure, Yeah, I just saw a video where there's like some magnetic coils and stuff, and like there's like some piece of metal placed in the center, and it just ends up melting because of the magnetic pressure. But Brian, I sent you that video on.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. That's
Oh, does
weird.
it just
Yeah.
give you shivers?
Yeah, a little bit.
Oh,
Well,
so creepy.
but on this first episode, obviously, I think everybody on the air right now, I think we're all believers. But like I said, let's play devil's advocate for a minute here. All right, let's try to look at it from a logical point of view.
Okay, well, I don't. Okay, yeah, all right.
You good?
I'm just I'm trying to. I'm biting my tongue a bit.
Oh no,
Yeah.
you're good. You're good. No. Believe me, I'm on your side, bud. Believe me on that.
It isn't about his side. I don't know.
Oh, I know. Okay, so let's look at the
Anyway.
universe, right? Universe is what 13 point some odd billion years old, correct? Life on Earth developed in what four in the last 4 billion. That's about.
That's really debatable,
That's
man. There's
really debatable, right?
that's anthropology is not even considered a science, so that really makes
Oh
even
God.
Look
more.
at the anthropologist teachers we were talking about last night that are teaching, or 2 nights ago, that are
Oh,
teaching
yeah.
courses on Miley Cyrus
Cyrus,
in the
yeah.
university because
it's
they
not
have
even-
nothing else to teach. Like they have no job avenues, and they're teaching Miley Cyrus twerking classes in college.
Right.
That's the way to the top now, man. AI's taking over, so you can't fuck. Sorry, whatever. Get the fuck out of here, man. Welcome to FEMA camp, bitch. We're gonna boot your ass to camp.
All right, so for argument's sake, let's say it's 4 billion years since life developed, and you know, and I guess they have said that life on Earth developed pretty quickly, in the scheme of things. So, just for argument's sake, let's say that we did, even if life takes 8 billion years to form and to get to a level of intelligence, you know, that could explore the universe, right? There's a lot of
Provided that-
factors that go into our solar system too that even cause life on our planet that are really, really rare in the universe. I mean, there are other Earth-like planets out there that could sustain life, but
Like
Oh,
Captain Nine.
but a lot of
absolutely.
the, I mean, Jupiter had a lot to do with the formation of our solar system, and Jupiter's part of the reason that life even developed on Earth.
Well,
And Jupiter has rings on it, which is actually
No,
like
Saturn does, doesn't it? Saturn has.
yeah,
rings.
Jupiter
Jupiter's
has
got rings too. Yeah,
Oh yeah.
It's
I
got
know, like,
sm-
it's
they
very
just
smaller.
found 13 more moons on Jupiter. Did you hear that?
yeah.
Oh, by the
No.
way,
That doesn't
we
surprise
found
me.
13 more moons. On to the next news.
yeah,
Fucking real quick.
yeah. That doesn't
Just
surprise
tweet that
me
into
at
the map. See, we
all.
told you, asshole. But,
Well, what were they saying how life formed here? That there was a comet that impacted with Earth that had bacteria living on it that obviously came from somewhere else.
Right.
And if anyone wants to argue that bacteria can live in outer space, we've got space herpes, which we're going to talk about in
yeah.
another episode.
I
And
think humanity is a sexual transmitted disease. What happened to us? It's all like basically it's when she ate the fucking fruit in the garden. But
Right.
We won't go there.
what are those little tardigrades? Tardigrades are these little alien-looking species that they've actually put on the outside of rocket ships, so they're saying, and they actually survive living in outer space conditions.
Mm.
They can be frozen for hundreds of years and unfreeze, and they'll be living.
Well, yeah, I mean it's like cryogenics, right? Like if they keep oxygen away from it, it'll never fucking, it'll never decompose if it's in a zero oxygen environment.
Right.
So
Like
if it's
what
covered
Disney
in
was
seal,
trying to do.
I think that's what's under Antarctica, and a lot of that stuff gets real sketchy because they're saying like 300 million years. It like crossed here. It was like that was like, and then if you get into it, that's the story of Sumerians, which brings you into everything like our creation, and
Right.
because we were an altered species, we are.
And then they got like Ninjin that are supposed to be down there that are frequently talked about. And Ninjin are Japanese culture or some kind of Asian culture. And yeah, they're supposed to be living down in Antarctica that are unfreezing. And I have no idea if this is a true story or not, but this German report was saying that there were scientists who went under the ice a bit where like there was a river, and they were actually they were slashed to pieces by this ninja that was living in there.
Yeah, that was one in where is it there? The northern United States. You're like the most north fucking state there, Alaska. There you go.
Oh, they have some there too?
That's the military went in there. There's a report on Linda Moulton Howe, that lady I mentioned earlier.
Okay.
She does an actual report about that incident, or mentions it anyways in a lot of her work, like because there's pyramids in there in Alaska. I don't know if you're where that, but there's one like, I think it's 100 feet or 100 to 300 feet, something like that, under the surface of Earth right now. So it's buried that far.
Oh, and they've got the Alaskan Bermuda Triangle.
Yeah, yeah. That's why I think the United States wanted Alaska, is they didn't want Canada to have it, because of all the technology that's buried there, just like kind of like Antarctica, because it's so north, right? Like there's parts of Alaska you can't even go to. You're not allowed.
Yeah, they've got herp stations in Alaska too.
Mm-hmm.
And like, look at that movie, The Fourth Kind. That was shot in Alaska, or derived from Alaska, where they had a bunch of abductions and a bunch of regressive or hypnosis regression, alien therapy, whatever.
Well, see, the thing with The Fourth Kind, though, I mean, it was made out to be alien abductions, alien activities, stuff like that up there. But the more and more you delve into, kind of the things that were happening to people, and the owls showing up and whatnot.
Yo, don't even get me started about owls, man.
A lot of that is geared more towards demonic possession than it is aliens and whatnot, So, I mean, but the thing is, everybody talks about, it's aliens, not demons. Look, we have to talk about this aspect of it, because
it's interdimensional beings. But
right,
I don't want.
What I'm saying is there's an aspect to this that is, I guess you could say, religious, that would be biblical, right? Because when you look at these things, you have to look at every text possible where you can get any kind of morsel from it. You can. In the Bible, it does state that remember, this is just from Christianity point of view, that Lucifer
absolutely.
is in charge of the skies and in charge of the air and whatnot, and who's to say these aliens that people are seeing aren't demons? You know what I mean? But that's more of a religious aspect of it.
They are, though. Well, it's even in history, like, really, if you really look at it, what they're suppressing from us, it's very easy to whitewash a whole fucking part of our history, because nobody else is there to prove it.
Right.
Demon actually derives from a word, daemon, so Daemon, which actually means protective spirit.
Mm-hmm.
And it was after Christianity that these daemons became demons and demonized.
Right. I see what you did there.
So who knows? Like we could have interdimensional beings. We can have aliens and demons being the same thing. Angels and aliens being the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
But then we could also ask the question, like, what's the differences between them? And there's also a lot of differences that we're definitely going to get into too as well.
Have you seen that book, The 56 Races from the Russia's KGB? Did you ever see it? Like, they have all the races of the aliens, like, identified in a description.
Oh, I know they've got the Project Blue Book that's got. Hang on, Project Blue Book.
Yeah, that was a way to like guide them away from the truth back then. That's why they used that.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to ruin anyone's fun, because I know.
Oh, no, you're
20
good.
years researching this shit. I hate ruining people's buzz, because it's like a roller coaster, bud. When you're getting answers.
Right.
When you start,
people don't want to research. People just want to be told. Like, look at Snopes. Look at AFT. It's AFT Canada, right? People don't want to do their own research. They want to be told, we did it for you. Here's our information. These are the facts, because we fact checked it, and now you don't have to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they have to do that now. Look at royalty and all that before we called the laws and wrote the history books. Didn't have a little bit of a problem called the internet, what we have now, right?
Right.
It's really caused a big issue, because a bunch of smart people start talking that aren't criticized, and wait a second, we start finding out the truth, and now they got to backpedal. So what are they doing? They create these lies, and then they're caught within their lies and lies and lies. But we're the crazy ones for actually believing that they might be lying to us.
Right. And the thing is, they don't care if they get caught in the lie either, because then you don't know what is real and what not to believe.
Well, in the 1500s,
when you muddle everything up and dilute it, then it's hard to pick through and find out the things that are real.
In the 1500s, it was illegal for people in Britain to even learn to read and write.
Well, yeah, they had
actually a form of witchcraft.
Latin too. There's Latin English, and then there's. Did you ever see the English thing? Holy jumping, that's a trip, bud. When we because we don't speak that language, and it's not even mentioned that we do. We are second-class citizens, like, really, and like when it comes to like the elites, they have that Latin English or whatever, and it's a way that they control us is by us accepting that whole system.
Mm-hmm.
That's why you got to dig really deep. Like it's so narrow based to just yes and no to everything in this whole trip. Like I said, it's brought me to some really fucked up places because I've been studying this since I was told. Like the news hid that instance when I was a child.
Mm-hmm.
It just seemed everyone swept that under the rug and didn't go on. Well, I didn't move on. I seen something crazy, and everyone was calling me crazy. No, except for the people that seen it with me.
I don't blame you. Like, no, like I've seen like poltergeist activity and stuff like in my house as a child, like not even a child, as a teenager, like pictures flying off the wall, like oh my god, I remember one time like the TV just like my son was like 2 years old and like he got really fucking bad one day and
telekinesis took on me. He's sent it flying.
Oh, you have to listen to this. So he's like standing there and he puts his arms by his side and he's like furious. Like he looks like he has the strength of like a little midget warrior. And anyways, he's screaming and the TV shuts off. The lights start flickering. And I was like, oh my God, I'm not dealing with this. So I picked him up. Like, I didn't know how to handle him. My daughter's sitting there and she's like, what the fuck's going on? And so I like start carrying him down the hallway and he just like projectile puked all over the place. And I'm like, oh my God. And he's like, what happened to me? I'm like, it's okay. It's okay. You got too much energy. Like, you just need to calm down.
Humanity's ascending right now, right? And do a whole other, like, we're evolving. And I think it's artificial through the light, the chemtrails, all that kind of stuff. It's kind of like kick-starting things in our I guess our species evolution to like kind of fast pace it because we probably fell short numerous times because the elite don't want us to get better and they don't want us to find peace in our soul and to love our neighbor. They want us to be angry at each other so that we're ignorant. And it's all ignorance. They did the race card. They did this. They give us AIDS. Now they're giving it to you with mosquitoes that are nanobot. Like,
yeah.
The nurse came out, talked about that last week. She said, like, on Marfugal News, I don't know if you guys heard of that guy. He's ex-military in the States. He started an amazing network of preppers. Really great show. I've been watching him for a bit now. And that's where you'll get a lot of really good information, you know what I mean? And if we reach out as groups to people and we actually start, like, maybe, okay, I don't really believe in what that guy's saying, but I'm going to check it out. Because I bet you there's some truth in there that will benefit me.
Well, you know what? If you don't believe it, well, why don't you find every single way you can to prove that it's wrong? Because, you know, more times often than not, you're going to find more things that will, like, support this crazy insanity fucking thing that somebody's saying. And it's just trying to disprove it. And then at the end of the day, you're like, well, fuck me sideways. This was not what I expected.
Well, it goes right down to their president. Your president, I'm not saying I'm a Trump supporter.
Right.
But he's a necessary evil, and I think he was put there by God. And I really do. And that's a whole 3 shows probably just on that whole belief. With that, because do you believe he time traveled? Have you heard about that?
Oh, I have heard that theory. I don't know because wild, man. Because there's a lot that, you know what, I heard that theory maybe 6 months ago, and I kind of brushed it off because, you know, I just figured it was one of those things that it was just, somebody just, because I'm on the right side of the aisle. I just figured it was something some liberal came up with or whatnot. But the more and more that happens, the more you can't help but go, it's possible.
Oh, it is.
It's entirely possible.
Yeah. It's like, did you read the book or hear about that book? I read parts of it just to get a little bit deeper into my research. There was like the last president, and then what's his son's name? Starts with
Barron.
a B. Barron, the one with autism there, right? He's he has that's why Donald Trump really supports vaccines could be sketchy. You know what I mean? Because that's just another made-up disease to try and slow down humanity. I think, with the vaccines. But we can go off on that way too. I don't really want to get into that, but everything's so orchestrated, and society is so predictable that I don't know if you guys are a bit woke. You can tell because you're asking questions. Most people don't ask questions; they just pick on the ones that are acting this way. It's all engineered, everything. And children now are being born at a ridiculous rate where they're showing their parents how to use the computer. Like,
Yeah.
I seen like a 4-month-old and he was like playing with a tablet. I'm like, get the F out of here. Like, I'm still like having to ask kids what the hell to do here to get there. I don't have a goddamn clue, man.
The kids
look
are
at that
definitely
one
getting
kid
smarter.
When I was a kid.
That one kid that it was born walking pretty much like this nurse. Like you see this
Fuck, they're
video,
just
like it's
walking out of there
obviously a
now.
newborn. Yeah, and like the baby's like holding on to the nurse's arm, like it's got it, like it's slumped over her arm, so it she's got it by like the armpit, and this baby's just got one foot in front of the other, in front of the other.
Sounds like a gorilla giving fucking birth.
But yeah, no, this thing like this baby like walked out, or this other video on YouTube where this like 9-month-old little girl is drawing like little cartoon cats, and the comment with it is scientists can't explain how she could do this, and like no 9-month-old can even like make it an ABC, and this kid's drawing little cats all over her.
Oh my!
See,
and I'm like, what?
Here's one of the crazier things that have been happening nowadays as far as children goes. That's really gotten my attention, and I've shown it to Kirsty, and it's even gotten her attention quite a bit. And it's these kids now. I see. Okay, personally, I don't know where I stand. I'm not gonna discredit it. I'm not gonna try to improve it. It's just I don't know where I stand at this point on reincarnation, and it's one of those things where these kids are being born nowadays with these memories of. And you know, they're just like, oh, my friend is such and so. And you start doing the research and going down the rabbit hole, and they were victims in 9/11.
Or they were from other places, like, and they could prove it. World War II.
Right, and showing where they were buried. You know, these kids.
And then the kid. What about the kid from Russia? Boris, when he went missing there.
Yeah, and he led the police right to his grave.
In Russia.
Yeah,
it's not Russia, but Mars.
It's insane, some of these things, because like I said, that goes back to what I was saying earlier. There are things in this world that have no explanation whatsoever.
If you want an explanation, I'm not a skeptic at all now, and I'm pretty sure I have 100% knowledge of, well, let's say 99, because there's always that factor.
Right.
But I've researched this to the point where you wouldn't probably, you'd be a nervous wreck when you find it out, like how we've been played.
Oh yeah.
And there's 3 waves of people coming that have been coming here, and Naughty Beaver explains it awesome, and the light workers, and it's like there's a big thing going on right now between good and evil, a battle, and it's happening in the heavens because the reptilians were asked to leave Earth. They were voted out. You get out of there, and half of them left, and half of them stayed. And I don't care how people think of me after saying this, but a lot of this is like people in the public's eye. That really have no point of being there, and they have no skills or ability, but they're, you can answer that question, who these people are yourself. Now, they are going to be getting eliminated, let's say, with the grand solar flash that's supposed to occur within the next year or 2. Mm. And that's why they're chemtrailing. It's like, what I learned in the last month through Naughty Beaver's research, and I tell you, he's a hard one to listen to, because he's like me, he's all over the place. But when you start realizing this stuff, it is all over the place. Like avenues you never think it would touch. And when you start realizing how it all plays a role, and it takes a while till that clicks in everyone's brain, different for everyone else. Some people can put it together quicker, some people can't. But when you realize we're almost in the end times, and things are happening that have been predicted. And they are. Like, I'm more of a believer in Jesus Christ, but I'm not Christian, because my idea of Christian and, let's say, your idea of Christian are totally different.
Right.
It's based on human experience and not facts. Mm-hmm. And what they were taught. It's not your preacher's fault, but it kind of is for him being ignorant. And it's not your parents' fault because they were just told that. But it's, you know what I mean? But it is somebody's fault, really. And I think it's time that humanity realizes it, accepts it, and tries to get out of where we are now, because your spirit's the only thing that's going to last.
Well, if you look at the Bible, people go to church and they're all like, oh, praise Jesus, and my pastor said this, and my preacher said that. And if you honestly like look into the Bible and like actually read it, which I've noticed a lot of Christians.
Don't let a man teach you.
No, it specifically says there. Yeah, God says, in order to find me, defy man, and do your own research. And people are just taking pastor's word as God's word. But if you go look, you'll find God's word, and it says, defy your pastor, and do your own research to find me. And keep it if you get told to stop, because like I actually
you're on the right track.
I was actually, yeah, I did a bit of this journey, and if you're told to stop, it's not stop. You're not done. Okay, you just got to one point, but stop. That's enough. Most people will just stop, and you have to keep going and going and going and going and going, and it's going to take like it's like the Da Vinci Code or like the Da Vinci Bible Code, and you got numbers, and you've got number correlations, and you've got other books and other translations and all this.
Numbers don't
like,
lie. People do. Words do. Numbers don't.
Well, it also
remember that. It's an unalterable fucking language. Oh, sorry that I swore. But yeah,
You're all good.
You can't.
Also, you got to keep in mind too. Nowhere in the Bible at all does it say you have to go to church. Nowhere.
No, you're supposed
you know what?
to
No, you
vote
go
a
to your
day.
church. You know what? Your church is yourself.
Right.
Your church. You are your church.
Yeah.
Your temple.
Yep.
Okay. We are of the image of God. We aren't gods, but all of us make up the body of Christ and the Father.
Right.
Like, and everyone's waiting for a deception, the great grand deception, not realizing that we've been deceived. And Christ has returned because many people are waking up to the exact same dreams, the exact same feelings, the exact same experiences, and the conviction. And they don't know each other. And it's word verbatim. Everything's pretty much the same.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I'm very outspoken on this, because it happened to me while this was happening on a global level. And everyone around me, it wasn't happening to. And it's myself and my dog now. I have the most loyal dog in the world, and I'm so thankful. Because even if I was her, I'd probably say, I'm out of here, bud. But, well, no, it's because it's crazy, right? But when you start realizing it and you accept it, that's when you can start getting answers. Because I got locked up in that, like, mental, I guess, prison, right? Where I thought I was never going to get answers, and it's always going to be, an ostracized thing.
And once you start getting answers,
you know what? Fuck it, I don't care what anyone thinks anymore. That's how it is.
Oh God, and like you start getting these honestly physical feeling hits of reality. Like it feels like sometimes you're getting hit with a brick wall. It's like boom, and you're knocked off your feet. Like you can't stand there. You think of one thing that wraps up everything else you've been thinking of, and it's like boom, you're on your ass because it hits you that fucking hard.
Mm-hmm.
You must know what I'm talking about, Doug?
Pardon?
I said you must know what I'm talking about, eh?
I know. I have a good understanding. Yeah, it's more like a fucking punch to the gut, and then as you're going to fucking comfort yourself to that, you're getting one on the side, another sucker punch from behind. And then you're like, hey, I'm not done with you yet. Fucking don't run away from me while I'm talking to you. And then you guys.
Oh yeah.
But
if you're gonna start looking for answers, you're gonna get them beaten into you, like in an actual physical sense.
Well, let me ask you guys this, because I kind of want to get y'all's opinions on this. If I think at this point it's obvious that we're not alone in this universe, right? And
oh, that's guaranteed.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Why would it matter whether or not? And I know it could all be summed up in the word they just want to control us, but in a more specific way, why would the government not want us knowing about that?
Well, do you want to let go of a $2 trillion piggy bank or a minute? Like for oil, we're freaking energy addicts. No one's at all really working on curing that problem. Just like stupid, here's your fucking $500 solar panels that'll charge your fucking your cell phone. Like, fuck, that's not helping humanity. And they're funding this shit. And then people come up with real inventions. And either they're like killed or they're silenced. Mm-hmm. And that's what happens. And there's many records of that. It's called energy, man. And we knew that there was free energy and it was going to take, if I could get to China in 3 seconds, are you going to want to fucking spend how much on an airplane so you can go up in the sky and travel across the whole planet Earth and not see nothing but fucking the poison they're spraying on us?
But here's the thing too. Like if let's say you're higher up in the government, right? And supposedly the president doesn't know anything about this stuff because he's just a temporary employee in, out, supposedly they don't know anything about this. But at some
are let in, but not many.
Right.
As long as it doesn't affect, if it's going to affect your country and the people in it, then yeah, he'll things will be done and he'll be able to maybe do something. But over and all, he's got bosses,
But
and those bosses have bosses, and those bosses have bosses that are off of this earth.
But if
you know what I mean, like it's for gold, and
if
gold.
if they're trying to keep it from us because of oil, right?
All resources.
But if we're being contacted by these beings that could, with their technology, progress us that much further, instead of beyond that point,
because then it's egos, man. They got egos, and they can't say that. Okay, we lied to you.
I wouldn't doubt that.
How do they come out now? How do you really come out and say, you know what, we've been actively, directively lying and misinforming you all the way around everything. That's
you look at Putin in Russia.
What you think is white is now black. We lied to you the whole time. People are gonna fucking question everything, and they're not gonna want to do anything.
Well, see, it's to
You're
the point
shut
now.
down.
NASA has already come out and confirmed that we've spoken to other species. They've already come out and confirmed this. But now it's in a world now where everybody's been so desensitized to the idea of aliens and life out there that if they were to come out and say it now, everybody'd just be like, okay, whatever. And that'd be the end of it. It wouldn't be this big thing now that we've seen, in science fiction, or like anytime, like Arrival, when a new species comes to Earth for the first time, it wouldn't be this big thing where everybody's like, oh God, we're not alone. Now it'd be like, oh, well, kind of saw that one coming.
Well,
either that or they're like, oh, look at how good their CGI's doing now.
Yeah, they wouldn't even, the government could come out and say, yeah, no, this is real. And they'd be like, whatever, this isn't real.
Look at Project Bluebeam that they were supposed to do.
Operation. That was all deception.
Yeah.
That was all distraction and deception and lies. And they were like, it changed Carl Sagan.
Yeah, but to play
work, he's amazing.
No.
Like when he was his younger years.
Yeah.
But and in his older years,
Why didn't the Three Little Pigs go in for some kind of flat share scheme?
Does Jesus get to choose which wine he turns it into?
Why don't Sims have the upper body strength to climb out of a swimming pool?
And does everybody really want to be a cat?
I'm Will Baker.
And I'm Alex Prescott.
And if you're the type of person that overthinks these deep philosophical questions, then Think to the Brink is the podcast for you.
From Disney characters to song lyrics, debates to social etiquette, tune in every week for your dose of paralysis by analysis.
All topic suggestions are welcome. If you can think it, we can overthink it. Think to the Brink. Available on all podcast platforms.
Hey everyone, this is John Tolley, inviting you to check out War of the Stars, a Star Wars podcast. Each week, me and my co-host Christopher Stolley discuss the news and theories surrounding one of the largest movie franchises in the world. So join us every Wednesday at 8 Eastern as we travel to the galaxy far, far away, right here on Anchor FM and wherever fine podcasts are heard.
You know, when you need CBD, vape juice, or a new mod, go to Vape Scorpion. 10859 Boston Avenue, Philadelphia, PA 19116. They are formerly known as East Coast Vapor. They have all your needs, all the equipment, all the juice. And hey, while you're there, sit down, enjoy a beer, bring your own, and just hang out with a bunch of cool people. So guys, if you really need your next vape machine, or maybe you just want to try a locally made juice, make sure you hit up Vape Scorpion. That's 1085 Boston Avenue, Philadelphia, PA 19116. Or give a call to 215-464-8273. Oh yeah, and make sure you let them know that Realm of the Mist Entertainment sent you.
He said that she said, how dare you say that? That's offensive. Well, someone's gotta say it. It had to be said with Venus. Catch the live show Tuesdays at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Check out the recordings at any time. Guest host weekly. Listener, beware. Mature content, sexual content, trigger warning. Do you dare say it?
Hi, my name's Chris, and I'm here to tell you about Realm of the Mist podcast. Realm of the Mist podcast, we talk about all the great entertainment things, from movies, music, books, comic books, and many, many other forms of entertainment, as well as politics, current events, and just general humor and having a good time. If you're looking for a podcast that is right up your alley, look no further than Realm of the Mist podcast here on Anchor.fm or where fine podcasts can be heard.
Hi, this is Dave from the Comic Collection at 83 Bustleton Pike in Feasterville, Pennsylvania. Our phone number is 215-357-3332. We are right next to Northeast Philadelphia. We have action figures, gaming, statues, albums, and CDs, graphic novels, other knickknacks, and, of course, comics. Established in 1985, we are your go-to store. Come by and say hello, and say that the guys from Radiocast FM Radio sent you. The address again is 83 Bustleton Pike, Feasterville, Pennsylvania, or call 215-357-3332.
Three-eyed turtle? Is that all right?
What the fuck is a three-eyed turtle?
Who wants a mustache ride?
Are you tired of the same old podcasts with no humor? Well, join us for After Hours, where everything is funny, at least to us, on Anchor.fm and where quality podcasts are heard.
How the fuck did we get on this?
I don't know.
Fucking FCC started this shit. It's their fucking fault.
Hey everyone, this is Dak.
This is Liam.
And this is White People Shit.
We are a bi-weekly podcast.
Whoa. Maybe you're bi-week. I'm straight and strong.
It means twice a week, you douche.
Oh. Yeah, listen to us twice a week. On White People Wednesdays, we talk about gay stuff, zombies, superhero sex positions.
And on Featured Peep Fridays, we interview the Featured Peep of the Week.
Yeah, like a fucking furry.
Just search WPS Podcast and look for the white dude in red pajamas.
We're on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, YouTube, and anywhere else you get your podcasts.
We believe in equal opportunity humor, where all things can be made fun of. So if your feelings get hurt and you're offended, you can always
eat a dick.
Especially after 9/11, there's a lot more people that are like looking into things, and I understand like a few things could be pretty hard to swallow because it's still like, well, I'm still digesting the fact that 9/11 was an inside job. Can I just have a moment?
Yeah,
I knew that from the day it happened. The day it happened, I knew it, and I said that, and I was ostracized.
Mm-hmm.
I was even like, I got my big screen TV that day, and I couldn't wait to get back from Toronto to London. And at the time, I was with a lady for a while. We were going to have a kid. She was pregnant. And I just was doing the family thing, right? Like work, pay taxes, yada, yada, yada. And I couldn't wait to see this, like, bodies flying out of the building. I was morbid sick back then. Like, I had no, I was a bad person, and I didn't care about society. Mm-hmm. Totally different now. But back then, I thought I was getting humor out of stuff like that. And I seen the flaws right away because I didn't look at it as a traumatic event. I looked at it as a fucking... There's way more to this. Like, how does all that building just disappear? Nobody asked those questions. And as soon as someone did, and they were questioned. And I caught how news reports were like backpedaling because some of them were saying the building had exploded before it even had exploded. And there was so many things I was catching right off the back, but everyone was caught up on the bullshit, the trauma. Yeah. And you could see it in their eyes. Because I remember it. I was maybe 20 years old, 21, 22, maybe 23. I don't know, somewhere around there. My younger days, and I knew it right away. And I was like, how I was yelled at, you're inconsiderate. And I'm like, they didn't feel it. The people that are in the building, at least, they were vaporized, man.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like they turned to dust. That was what was said.
Okay. So back a few years ago,
there's a lot of people that died that way. I'm not trying to be rude, people.
No, not at all.
I'm going to send you guys these pictures. Okay, so actually my buddy had a copy of 9/11 the day after it happened. It was actually, I think it was the Sun, the Toronto Sun. And anyways, I'm going to send you guys these pictures. I'm actually going to post it to a few other places. And here, okay, so 9/11 and ISIS are what, about 10 years apart, right?
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
So
kind of, yeah. When they hired them after the first Gulf War.
Oh God! Okay, so
Bush's dad was running the country.
Okay, so I'm gonna
Daddy
send you
bear
guys these pictures.
Happy
But
Buzz.
there's pictures of Al Qaeda that were 9/11 terrorists, right?
Mhm.
And they're right beside. I actually found pictures of ISIS terrorists,
Well, they're
and they're
staring.
side by side. And you know what? They're the same fucking people. Like
Yeah,
these
oh, yeah.
people. Even though okay, this one I'm gonna
Already
send it to you
died,
guys now. And this one, oh my god, the eyebrows and everything are just like you can tell it's the same guy. That Al Qaeda guy is ISIS. I just sent it to you guys. I'll just send you a picture. I got a picture of I've actually a notification from YouTube about binaural beats right in the middle of the show, so I sent that to you guys too, which I thought was pretty funny. But just this one picture, those eyebrows, that's the same guy.
Well, yeah, it's deception at the biggest levels. Like it took away all in one shot. That was their wild card, eh? They took care of everything. They took care of the trillions of dollars that Rumsfeld had to account for. Like 3 days before, he's like, their Congress is interrogating about it, and no one ever ran with that. And I kept asking that question then, and I was like, Doug, you're crazy. I don't know what you're talking about. Like, don't you remember? Like 2 days ago, he was saying where the fucking papers were, and he'd have to get them so he could like show where all that money went.
Mhm.
That's Black Ops money, and they had to account for it. And all of the information was in the Pentagon and the World Trade Center, Tower 7 that didn't get hit by planes. And that went down like a controlled demolition, which has been proven by engineers that it is. Totally. There's no arguing there. Like, engineers have said there's a problem with this whole 9/11 report, and we're coming out about it.
I've got the commission report around here somewhere.
Fireman during the fire saying what was going on, and they ended up dying. These firemen were mysteriously ended up dead after they started speaking publicly about it. They were at 9/11. Saying things because they were like, they seen shit, right? They started to talk. Well, where are these people now? They're gone. They were murdered to silence, and people were still getting murdered. I couldn't talk the way I'm talking right now about a year or two ago. I'd be too afraid to even say any of the words that I just said. But because a lot of the truth has come out to Q, thanks to Q.
Yeah, a lot of it is public now.
I don't know if you guys follow QAnon, but that shit's your military right there. That's like your patriots trying to save your nation. But I think they're infiltrated as well, because man's corrupt, and that's everyone's got a price, man. And if you don't have a price, you have something that you won't lose. And when you fucking threaten to take that away from them, what are they going to do? They're going to do what you say, man.
Yep.
And that's the way it is. It's going to own you. And then they'll just get the public, like I say, because I've been judged. They'll get them to like ruin your life, and you don't have to worry about the government doing it. The public will do it.
Right.
Because I can't get a job. I'm looked at as crazy, but I've been right. 95% of the time I've said any of my things on Facebook, and I'll admit when I'm wrong, because I will. I know when it's wrong, and I admit it. And I apologize because I can't, I posted something without, fully being aware of it. When I claim something to be true, I'm pretty damn sure it's true. Like, because I don't want to say shit that I can't really back.
Right.
I'll post shit sometimes for a joke. But, no, well, that's serious. I'll do that for a joke because I like to see where people are at myself, because I've watched this whole thing go. I think it's like there's light beings, that have come here in a wave of 3. There's 40-year-olds, 60-year-olds, and 20-year-olds. It's in those gauge, and a little bit in those gaps, and it's like waves that have been changing the society. It's been trying to guide us in a direction.
Mm-hmm.
I think actually, that actually has a lot to do with astrology as well, doesn't it? That one of your houses is in the house of Scorpio, and I think it's around 88. And right now, 88, and I know it went on for 8 years. That people had, or there was the house of Capricorn or something. Anyways, those people are to change the world and whatever. And yeah, you've been seeing it about every 20 years or so where there's like a significant change in society.
Empathetic, yeah. It's a big, yeah.
Like these people, this 8-year house are actually like very resilient toward the government. They're always asking questions. They're the problems. And actually it lands on the millennial generation, believe it or not, for the most part. And they're actually making some changes now. They're like actually speaking out. They're actually like, you know what, fuck the government, fuck the system.
but
define.
they'll fix that again, just like they did in the 1800s with the mud flood that they totally buried, and there's plenty of evidence for that. But I won't even go there. But, like, fuck that. Have you guys heard about that whole thing? Sorry to cut you off, Venus, but
the mud
they
flood.
can erase history and rewrite it to their liking so easily and repopulate the earth, and no one's aware.
Yes.
And that's what's scary.
Yeah.
They were buying children. There's ads in papers all over the world. They were buying children so they can repopulate somewhere they destroyed because they took it out with destruction. And I believe they're trying to say we've only gotten progressively better at technology when we can't duplicate stuff that's here. That God knows how old it is, because I don't believe a word they say anymore. I can only believe what I discover myself.
Right.
I'm pretty defiant as well. Oh, you want to tell me it's true? Like, I actually had to go see my doctor today, and I'm asking her questions about 2 different things I have to take during pregnancy.
They don't have a fucking clue. Ask a pharmacist.
You know what's funny is her answers contradicted each other, because for Rogam shot, I'm a negative blood type, so she said that I have to take this Rogam.
Yeah, so your child won't die, or you won't die, or whatever, right?
Yeah, because in the 3rd trimester, my body will kill this baby, and I'm like, abortions don't happen in the 3rd trimester, usually, and a negative blood type will kill off a child before it's even a fetus if it's not compatible with her. It has nothing to do with the 3rd trimester, and I didn't even get this shit 10 years ago. And so I was like, is there any way you could just do a test to see if my baby has a positive blood type? And she's like, no, we can't. So then they want to give me this orange, of anyone who's had a baby will know, this orange drink that they give you. So she's telling me that I need to take this now and then go do blood work, because she needs to know how my baby...
An orange drink?
Yeah, it's an orange drink. It's filled with sugar. And I'm like, is this really necessary? And she's like, oh, it's not any worse than drinking a pop. And I'm like, okay,
for dye? Was that for dye?
No, it's just your blood sugar level. So I was like, okay.
Man. Fuck, I don't trust none of that. Okay, I'm sorry. I don't want to freak you out. Okay,
that's what I'm saying. So I'm like, okay, well, so if I don't have diabetes, she's like, well, we could test your blood to see if your baby has a reaction to it. So I'm like, so let me get this straight. You can test my blood to see if my baby's going to have a pancreatic reaction to an overdose of sugar, but you can't test to see what its blood type is.
They already know what the blood type is. They're not going to say it.
It's not fucked up. So I'm sitting here and I'm questioning
we're
this.
starting to get the gremlins coming out. We're touching on some touchy things there. We should move on. The gremlins are...
Oh, yeah. So how can you trust a doctor who can't even give you like a straight answer without contradicting herself? Like, if you can't test a blood type, but you can test its pancreas through my blood, but you can't test its blood type. So I'm sitting here with my eyebrows raised, and I'm like, huh. So are any of these tests good? Do any of them work? And like, I got a Down syndrome and spinal bifida test done on my baby, but they still can't test to see if its blood type, what its blood type is, which apparently our blood types would be mixing at this point, which within 72 hours, if it was a positive blood type, I would die. That's why it's killed off at an early stage. And so actually the patent for this Rogam shot, they call it something else now, but the patent for it says that within 72 hours of giving birth, and you have
they microchip you. That's what they did.
I didn't get this done yet. I'm really questioning, and like, I was like 10 years younger when I had my 2 other kids, and I didn't really think of any of this stuff. And now I'm sitting here and I'm like, huh. Well,
have faith in the Father, and the Father will bring you a nice, loving child. Go to medicine, and they'll fucking try to make your life destroyed. I hate to say it. If you want to die, go see your doctor. Take that advice, folks. I'm probably going to get a lot of hate mail and a lot of hate whatever for saying that, but I don't know. I haven't seen a doctor in a long time, and I'm not sick, and I'm doing all right. But let's knock on wood here, because, accidents happen, right?
Yeah, it does. No, you can break your leg. Tomorrow. You break your leg, a doctor's useful, but I mean, then they're giving you all these other things, and it's like, you don't even know why. You can't tell me why, and
because they're getting a bonus for prescribing you that.
I know. It's
they're getting a ring for their wife for a bonus, or it's not money even, because then it's bought off, but they get a nice gift.
They get something for sure. Man. They get something for sure, because it's not actually beneficial. they can't prove that it's beneficial. Besides saying that it's a research thing that they do, blah 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 blah. But it's like, well, you're missing one factor in all of this, and like. So now I'm sitting here and I'm like, like really debating, like, okay, how necessary is this? Do I actually get it done? And she's like, and she even tells me that that if anything happens to my baby in the 3rd trimester, it's my fault because I didn't get this Rogram shot. And I'm like, well, okay, according to...
You know, I don't get, I'm sorry to cut you off, Venus. I'm just like, I'm on your side here, and I just want to know, like, I'm asking a really rhetorical question, I think, but it's one that has to be asked. If they're trying to allow abortions up until the delivery date, why are they giving a fuck now about what happens if you accidentally do something? Or if you didn't know and they refuse to help you? Do you see what I'm asking right now? Like, it's weird, man, because they're trying to push that abortion.
And see, my baby's perfectly healthy. Like, he's got a 155 heartbeat. He has no Down syndrome. He has no spinal bifida. He's been tested for all of that, and now they want to make sure that everything else is fine. Well,
just pray to the Father, man. You'll have a fine.
Like if it wasn't healthy, it wouldn't be here. Like even a positive blood type mom will abort a baby if it's not complete within like in the first 10 weeks or so. I think it's up to 11 weeks when you've got an 80% chance of miscarriage if you're going to have one. After you're like 12 weeks and stuff, that greatly drops. So yeah, there's so much stuff being forced on people. And I mean, don't get me wrong, I have every right to be questionable about what's happening. So if you want to ask questions, like I don't see anything wrong with that, because if it's that simple, then give a straight answer.
Well, they won't, because they don't know who they're going to get. They're going to get sued, or they're going to lose their job, or they're going to this or that. You know what I mean?
They shouldn't be trying to convince women then.
They want population control. That's what they want. And they want everyone sick, so they buy pharmaceuticals. And that's what they want, though. And it's happening, and it's being allowed. And I know people are probably laughing at what I say, but it's true. They aren't helping us. The food that they tell you is good for you isn't. Don't eat it.
And they poison the good food.
That's right. They do.
Quinoa's been recalled. Avocados have been recalled. Romaine lettuce, which is high in iron and stuff, has been recalled.
You ever heard of this stuff when you were growing up? No, not me. Maybe, kids now, but it's crazy, man. I went when you could ride in the back window of the damn car, you could ride on your fucking parents' lap and drive the damn steering wheel before you could walk to, like now you're going to get fucking thrown in prison for God knows how long for lighting up a smoke inside it. Mine is 50. Like, I smoked. I didn't smoke, but I had no choice to smoke when I was a kid, right? Because I was, like, in a car with 4 smokers. That was okay. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm not that crazy. I know I'm a little crazy, but I can still, feed myself and tie my shoes. So we're all right.
Mm-hmm.
It's trying to kill the kid. But now it's control, man. It's all about control and the less freedoms we have. Because then we're accepting being oppressed. They slowly bite at you. Now they're taking the big chunks out. You know what I mean? People are just taking it fucking dry. Because 100 years ago, they tried to take all these freedoms away from you. They'd be like hell, you're going to take these freedoms away from you.
Yeah, look how many like queens and kings got beheaded and stuff. Like, look at the prime minister of Amsterdam, like hundreds of years ago, who got eaten because he pissed off his citizens.
Well, yeah, there's no accountability anymore. Like, your country's going through a charade right now in the States. I get kicks out of watching stuff, man. It's like a soap opera. And it never gets old because it's like, are you fucking serious?
You actually did that.
It started with the Bill Clinton blowjobs and hits, man. It hasn't been stopped since. It's just political fucking sports, man. It's like, it has its own comedy level.
Well, we've been going for over an hour, guys.
Yeah.
So, I think this is a good. Yeah, I know. I think this is a good place to wrap up the episode. Hey, before we let everybody know where we can be found out and everything, Venus, do you have a subject picked out for next week's episode?
We've got lots up in the air. The mandala effect is a really good one that we can go off next week.
Okay. Well, then let's shoot for that. Next week we'll be talking about the Mandela effect. So,
cool.
Hey, before we hop off too, Doug, why don't you let everybody know where you can be found?
I could be found on Facebook for now until they remove me. Doug Ryan, chances are it'll be like some offensive thing on my background or very sarcastical or spiritual. And yeah, if you have any questions, I'll try and help you or guide you in the best direction in your quest for truth.
Fair enough.
I mean, if people want that, I'll help. But, don't take what I say for granted. You have to find that on yourself.
Amen. Venus, where can they find you at?
You can find me on Facebook as Venus Chan or Solar Nova, depending on if I'm banned that week. You can find me on Instagram. Oh, it's true. You can find me on Instagram at Venus Uncensored. You can email me at venusuncensored@gmail.com. I'll be back on Monday with Realm of the Mist, and next Tuesday with It Had to Be Said with Venus, and we'll be back again on Thursday for another Tinfoil Hat Society, which I'm so excited about.
We're going to see how deep this rabbit hole will really go. And you guys can find me at the Star Wars Canon Podcast on YouTube. Make sure to keep an eye out for this weekend. It's going to be a very busy weekend, considering Star Wars Celebration begins tomorrow. I mean, we're talking like a title finally for Episode 9. So definitely tune in for that. I think Cristali is going to be with me on Saturday for this week's episode of the Star Wars Canon Podcast. So anything else, guys, before we sign off for tonight?
Thank you. That's all I want to say.
Right on. Thanks for being on, brother. It was good talking to you. Good meeting you, man.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm sure you'll be back. Definitely.
Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
I look forward to it.
All righty.
Perfect.
Well,
all right, have a good night, guys.
Until next time, guys. Have a good one.
Cheers.
Later.
Hello?